Hello again, wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of Fantasy Warfare Tournament. We are on the road to WrestleMania, and we are going to look at the next 2 weeks, tonight and next week, the greatest WrestleMania of all time. Of course, unfortunately, we had to ditch 4 of them to the side, and some of them didn't make the cut, but we have 32 to look at. I want to thank everybody for joining us, whether you're watching on YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, listening to us on podcast version, and also on Facebook. We are part of the Ontario Indie Wrestling Podcast Network and a part of the Johners Network. But we are going to talk about WrestleMania, and we need to bring in some people to do so. And from Toronto is Stephen O'Neill. How are you, Stephen?
Oh, I am doing peachy keen. I'm ready.
I can imagine.
It's actually quite nice here in Toronto. This will be my last Fantasy Warfare in Toronto for a few weeks.
Yeah, coming back to London, I heard when we were talking earlier off line. So you'll be back in London, which is awesome. So we're going to bring in Jonesy from Niagara Falls. Jonesy, how are you tonight?
I'm not too bad. I got all the theme songs of WrestleMania running through my head. Number 6 was my favorite.
Yeah, that was definitely a memorable song. And tonight we have a special guest, and it's Matthew Terry in Welland. How are you, Matthew?
I am doing absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much for having me. I really am looking forward to this. I'm sorry if I was a little slow on getting to that, but I'm working here because I was a last minute addition. So I'm doing my homework, and because I'm old. And the WrestleManias kind of blend together. So I'm looking WrestleMania by WrestleMania. I'm Googling them all, and I'm trying to, I remember when I see them, but I'm doing my best. I think I'm ready. For those of you who don't know, because I was told off air that I have to introduce myself because there's zero crossover from podcast to podcast.
I like him, Shawn.
No one's ever heard of me. So I'm kind of somebody, but I guess I'm nobody. But I am Matthew Terry. I am the host of the It's Time to Fight podcast. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Podbean. You can find us on Wrestling with Johners. And you can find us at itstimetofight.ca. I've blabbed on enough, and I'm looking forward to this. Let's go.
And Matthew is a proud member of the Ontario Indie Wrestling Podcast Network. And that's
yes,
why we know each other all the time, and we chat away. And so hopefully our viewers have been checking out your podcast as well. And
hopefully they have, because otherwise they have no idea who the hell I am.
It's been one of those nights, which is awesome.
Right.
I love having guests like this. So
all right,
we are going to do our traditional running of the video, and we'll run down the brackets, and then we'll dive into our tournament. So we'll be right back after this message.
So, as you saw in the video, matchup 1's going to have WrestleMania 31 taking on WrestleMania 6. Match 2 is WrestleMania 5 versus WrestleMania 29. Match 3 is WrestleMania versus WrestleMania 34. Match 4 is WrestleMania 19 versus WrestleMania 25. Match 6 is WrestleMania 10 versus WrestleMania 23. No, I've got these numbers wrong. Whatever. The next one's WrestleMania 8 versus WrestleMania 35. Next matchup, WrestleMania 24 and WrestleMania 33. And match 8 is WrestleMania 26 and WrestleMania 21.
So, there's any before we dive in, any fun memories of some of these events that you might remember before we judge?
Well, I'm thinking I've been to 1, 2. I was at WrestleMania 6. I've been at WrestleMania 23. I'm looking to see if any of these. This first bracket is, and I think that's it. I think those are the only two I've been to live.
I was at 18 and 23. Jonesy, you were at 18?
A lot of the WrestleManias, I worked at the night shift, so a lot of this stuff I found out through people that would arrive in the morning. I remember WrestleMania 9, they're like, oh, Hulk Hogan's champion. I'm like, what the? And then I went to WrestleMania 18, and the fondest memory is being in the bathroom and opening the stall door just as Kane's music hit. So, you know.
Interesting. Matthew, have you been to many WrestleManias?
In person, no. I've been to no WrestleMania. It is still on the bucket list. However, WrestleMania 5, I guess I would have been, let's see, WrestleMania 5, probably would have been about 11. Yeah, I would have been about 11 years old. Well, I went to closed circuit TV in Cornwall, Ontario, which oddly, or I shouldn't say oddly enough, was right across the river from New Jersey where WrestleMania was taking place. So I was in Cornwall at closed circuit television. My dad brought me, and that was my first time seeing WrestleMania live. Every other time, I had a friend. He was a wrestling fan, and I wasn't allowed to go to his house because it ended late and it was a school night. So before that, he would watch WrestleMania, he would record it, and then the next day I would get to watch it on video. But WrestleMania 5 was the first one I saw like live, and then I think I've seen everyone live there ever since.
I had a teacher that our geography class was WrestleMania 7 for all of the like a month of class just to get through all the matches. So yeah, good memories for WrestleMania. We're going to dive into the first one. Because Matthew is our guest, I am going to drop out of the voting process on this episode, but I still will introduce some of the WrestleManias. So our first one is WrestleMania 31 against WrestleMania 6. WrestleMania 31 took place on March 29th, 2015 from Levi's Stadium in California. 76,976 people in attendance, supposedly. Sometimes the numbers are fudged. WWE counting, go figure. Some of the highlight matches on there was Big Show won the Andre Battle Royal, Daniel Bryan won the IC title in the ladder match, Triple H beat Sting, and that had NWO and DX both appear. And surprisingly, for whatever reason, Sting could not go over Triple H. Go figure, the boss's son. Cena beat Rusev for the U.S. title. Rusev came out in a tank prior to that match. He's claiming that he had sex with Lana in it. So, hey, bonus for Rusev.
Good for you, Rusev.
Undertaker beat Bray, which probably should have been the time that Undertaker would have lost and should have been to Bray, somebody who could capitalize, but that didn't happen. Seth Rollins cashed in his Money in the Bank during the Brock and Roman match, making a triple threat, and he ended up capturing the title on that one. So that was WrestleMania 31 in a little bit of a nutshell. WrestleMania 6, of course, Stephen, you were at it, but that was April 1st, 1990, Sky Dome in Toronto, 67,678 in attendance. We saw Demolition beat the Colossal Connection. It was one of Andre's last matches, and Heenan turned on him after the fact. Brutus Beefcake beat Mr. Perfect and ended the perfect streak. Brutus Beefcake, of all people, winning over Perfect. That's why people like Conrad Thompson hates him. The Hart Foundation beat the Bolsheviks in like 19 seconds. Miss Elizabeth returned to be in the corner of Dusty and Sapphire to face Savage and Sherry. Bossman beat Akeem, his Twin Towers partner, in under 2 minutes, and that started then a feud with DiBiase. Warrior beat Hogan in the Ultimate Challenge to be a double champion, and Hogan, of course, had to be Hogan, and Hogan must pose. Got the spotlight off Warrior in a way and on him by going and taking the belt and handing it to Warrior and then riding off in the cart, still posing and everything. So Hogan must pose. But that was WrestleMania 6 versus 31. Steven, what is your vote on that one?
I've got WrestleMania 6. I just think overall it was a better WrestleMania. It didn't have all the new WrestleMania gold and silver highlights on it, but I love WrestleMania 6, so I'm going 6.
Jonesy?
I like Mania 6. It had the big event. It was one of the first good guy versus good guy main event matches that a lot of people seen. Of course, the first one outside of the U.S. The earlier WrestleManias had a lot of filler matches in it. The Piper match was very odd but entertaining. And but you know what? WrestleMania 31, I believe, is one of the better ones. Fantastic, bigger, better matches. The entrances, the pageantry. It's what WrestleMania it has become. 6 was still kind of in its infancy. It's amazing that it's kind of like watching old NHL from the 70s before, they put all the advertising and all that up. So I just got to go with 31 because I think there was more matches that were just better put together.
And Matthew, you get the vote. What's yours? You're the tiebreaker in this one.
It's not even close for me. It is WrestleMania 6. Like it's already been said. First one outside of the United States, first international one in Canada. Okay, I'm a little biased on that. Already said, good guy versus good guy main event. Not to mention the world heavyweight champion versus the intercontinental champion, winner take all. There's just I think that's the first WrestleMania that was really it was in Sky Dome, now Rogers Center, obviously, and it was just this huge event. Well, like I shouldn't say that. WrestleMania 3, obviously, but it still had like that big feeling. WrestleMania 31. Oh, obviously that was a big feeling, but okay. So the first time that the Money in the Bank briefcase was cashed in at WrestleMania, good. Probably one of the best RKOs ever executed. Randy Orton onto Seth Rollins. Oddly enough, Seth Rollins is in both of those instances. And I have to say, you talked about, that's the one that everybody said Bray Wyatt should have won. Hey, if we had all the great ideas, I'm not saying this isn't a great show, but I think we'd be doing a little more than sitting in our basements. I'm sitting in my basement, talking about past WrestleManias. Maybe we'd be at one, participating.
Probably,
so yeah, it's easy for me. It's WrestleMania 6. Like, no, not even close on this one.
So yeah, awesome. It is a 2-1 victory with WrestleMania 6. Moving on from.
And Shawn, how about you give us what you would have voted?
I probably would have gone with WrestleMania 6 as well, just because of the fact that you had that big match with Hogan and Warrior. That was probably Warrior's best match to date. And and then of course I was a huge Demolition fan, so them getting the titles back, bonus for me.
I am getting a lot of feedback. I don't know if someone has something on in the background, but I'm getting a lot of feedback.
Yeah, that's somehow it's coming from, I think, Stevens. I don't know why, but we'll make our way through it. Steven, you get the next bracket.
Son of a bitch. Hold on, I dropped my pen.
Uh-oh.
All right, so we got WrestleMania 5, right? Yeah. Versus WrestleMania 29. So WrestleMania 5, the Mega Powers explode. Main match was Hogan versus Savage with Elizabeth in a neutral corner. Big John Studd was a special referee in the Jake Andre match. Rick Rude with Bobby Heenan beat the Ultimate Warrior to win the IC champ. Demolition defeated the Powers of Pain with Fuji in a handicap match. And then obviously Hogan beat Savage for the world champion, so Hogan could pose. That was April 2nd, 1989 in Atlantic City. Supposedly 18,946 fans. Next one, WrestleMania 29, April 7th, 2013, East Rutherford, New Jersey, MetLife Stadium, 80,676. You had Team Hell No, Daniel Bryan and Kane defeat Big E and Dolph with AJ Lee. I forgot that they were a tag team with AJ. That should have been something. John Cena defeated The Rock for the WWE title. Alberto Del Rio with Ricardo Rodriguez defeated Jack Swagger with Zeb Coulter. And then you had like a specialty match. Triple H with Shawn Michaels in his corner, taking on Brock Lesnar with Paul Heyman in his corner. If Triple H lost, he would retire. Obviously, he didn't because, well, that would make too much sense. I'm going WrestleMania 5.
Jonesy.
All right. WrestleMania 5 was the second WrestleMania in a row at the same venue. It was at the Jim Whalen Boardwalk Hall. It's advertised as being at Trump Plaza, but it actually wasn't. And in fact, they just imploded Trump Plaza only a couple of weeks ago, and the Boardwalk Hall is still standing. I love the roof line with the lights, the low seating, the long entrance. Elegant and simple, fantastic main event build-up with a good undercard and great commentating. And there was a lot of celebrities, mostly B stars, and of course, the Dawn was there. WrestleMania 29, it had some big matches, but had a repeat main event, except, of course, the WWE belt was on the line this time. Fantastic atmosphere, huge crowd, amazing set. The biggest celebrity was Snooki, was the minus for me. It is a hard one because I do believe, again, the wrestling is better in the later ones. However, I got to go with WrestleMania 5 due to the build-up and how kind of like movies, WrestleMania 4, 5 connect to each other so well.
Okay, so not that the vote matters, but Steve, Matthew, what was your going to be voting?
This one actually was a lot closer, and I thought it wouldn't be because as I said at the top, I was there for closed circuit television, but it was a lot closer. But I would go with WrestleMania 5. I will go with WrestleMania 5, but not because I'm biased. I just think the matches have a lot better staying power. As was mentioned, it just the kind of the continuation from 4 to 5, and being in that building, even though it wasn't actually Trump Towers, it still had that big fight, boxing feeling to it. It just like.
I think he's gone.
Oh, we
just a little frozen.
Just a little frozen on Matthew.
Just the ambiance and everything was just so much better.
He keeps freezing in.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we hear you.
You're
okay. Just everybody disappeared. I can't see anybody.
Oh,
anyway, long story short, WrestleMania 5. I just think the matches have better staying power. I look at those two events side by side, which, as I said, I am. And there's so much on WrestleMania 5. I'm like, oh, I want to see that again. Oh, I want to see that again. Oh, I want to see that again. And it's not just nostalgia. It's just, I can remember distinctly things that happened in those matches.
Yeah, for myself, I definitely agree with that one. Like, I don't know if I can instantly go back and say, oh, this happened at WrestleMania 29, but I know at WrestleMania 5, Tito Santana accidentally took out Rick Martel in that Strike Force versus Brainbusters match, and Martel walks away. You know, that's not one of those matches you think of probably offhand, but that one I remember because I was Strike Force fan and also Brainbusters. But yeah, 5 just stands out, I think, a lot more. And some places actually rank it really low on the totem pole. But 5 is moving on, and that gives Jonesy WrestleMania 2000 or 16 against WrestleMania 34.
Alrighty. There we go. So WrestleMania 2000, the tagline was a McMahon in every corner. The date was April 2nd, 2000. It was in Anaheim, California at the Arrowhead Pond of Anaheim, and approximately 19,776 were there. We had the Star Spangled Banner was sung at it by Lillian Garcia. That is pretty much the only song it seems that they have played at it. Is the the Star Spangled Banner, and I got that wrong, the other one. Anyways, doesn't matter, who cares? So, of course, the San Diego Chicken was there. Pete Rose got choke slammed and a stink face that year. There was the Fatal 4-Way main event. Triple H was the champion, and he went up against The Rock, Foley, and The Big Show. The IC match had two fall match. Chris Benoit defeated Chris Jericho and Kurt Angle. For the Intercontinental title, Jericho defeated Benoit and pinned Kurt Angle for the European title. The tag belts were on the line. It was Edge and Christian defeating the Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray, Devon, and of course the Hardys, Matt and Jeff. And the WWF belt was a fatal 4-way of Triple H, the champion, with Stephanie McMahon, and he defeated The Rock with Mr. McMahon in his corner, and Mick Foley with Linda, and The Big Show with Shane McMahon. And of course, they had the special match was the Triangle Ladder match of the Hardys and company. A good WrestleMania. You started to see it started to get a little more glitzy and glamoury, lights and all that stuff, a little more fancy. And then we move on to the Challenger, WrestleMania 34, and there was no tagline for this one given. The date was April 8th, 2018, and it was back in New Orleans, Louisiana at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, and 78,000 and change were there, disputed, of course. Just going by all the referees and all that. One thing you notice about the later WrestleManias, they have a ridiculous amount of referees and more overhead than is just crazy the amount of commentators they had, which I personally think is a bad thing. You only need a couple good commentators and let the other ones fuck off. The post-show respondent was Sam Roberts, if anyone cared about that. The main event was Lesnar and Reigns. And that is near the end. Brock Lesnar defeated Roman Reigns in that one. The IC match was Rollins defeating The Miz and Finn Balor, making Rollins the new champ of the IC belt. U.S. title, Jinder Mahal defeated Randy Orton, who was the champion, and Bobby Roode and Rusev were in the match as well. The SmackDown tag, the Bludgeon Brothers defeated the Usos, New Day. The Raw tag was the Braun Strowman teaming with, I believe it was 8 or 10-year-old Nicholas. Absolutely, I understand it. Absolutely cool for the kid, but for the audience and myself, I thought it was just big flush down the toilet, and that's where I'll just skip everything else and vote for WrestleMania 2000 on that.
Matthew. Your pick for this one? I think we're frozen again.
I think he's frozen.
Yeah, Steven, your pick?
Well, since COVID Jericho's in WrestleMania 2000, my pick's for 34.
Okay, so Matthew, what's your pick? You get to break the tie.
Oh, I get to break the tie.
Yeah.
You know what? It's not even really close with me. It's WrestleMania 16. For the same reason I was just talking about before. Just, staying power of the matches. And, I'm listening to that rundown, and honest to God, I'm listening to WrestleMania 34, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, yada, yada, yada. And a big thing, the tag team division. And you were talking about it. Nicholas was in the corner. Yeah, great laugh, great fun, and everything. But you look at how serious WWE. I'm a big tag fan. Now, I'm not saying everybody should be a tag team fan, but I'm a huge tag team wrestling fan. And you listen to the matches from WrestleMania 34 and how they were treating the tag team division at WrestleMania 34. And then you go back and you said, what was it at WrestleMania 16? The triangle match. And everybody's like, son of a bitch, triangle match. I remember that. That was probably one of the greatest, checkpoints in wrestling history of tag team wrestling. Is just this triangle match, and everyone's like, "Oh, the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, the Dudley." Like, that WrestleMania third joke after joke of the tag team division. So with me, it's not even close. It's WrestleMania 16.
Yeah, the original TLC match there, without it being called TLC actually at that time. But yeah, you just see that scaffold that they made to get the titles, Edge and Christian. Can't go wrong with that. So WrestleMania 2000 or 16 moves on, and we go to our fourth matchup, which is WrestleMania 19. It's from Safeco Field, March 30th, 2003. 54,000 plus in attendance. Matt Hardy being Rey Mysterio for the Cruiserweight title. Trish Stratus won the Women's Championship in Triple Threat from Victoria and Jazz. HBK took on Y2J and beat him. Hogan beat Vince in a street fight. Austin lost to The Rock in his unannounced final match. The night beforehand, you had Austin in the hospital after too many Red Bulls. Craziness on that one. Brock beat Kurt Angle, and people will remember that for the botched Shooting Star Press, where he nearly just killed himself doing a dart into the mat and missed an angle just barely, but he was able to get up and hit the F5 and win the title. That's going against WrestleMania 25, April 5th, 2009, Reliance Stadium in Houston. 72,744 in attendance. CM Punk won his second Money in the Bank ladder match. Santina Marella won the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal. Jericho beat three legends in a 1-on-3 handicap match. The legends were Snuka, Steamboat, and Piper with Flair in the corner. This was supposed to be Mickey Rourke and doing a thing with the wrestler, but then Rourke pulled out after somebody got in his ear. Undertaker beat HBK in the match of the year for almost every publication ever that year, named that as match of the year. Cena beat Edge and Big Show for the world title, and Cena ended up doing the lifting both Edge and Big Show on his shoulders for almost an F5. So superhuman strength in his thing. And Triple H retained the WWE Championship over Orton, and they had this huge battle beforehand with Triple H doing a home invasion. But yeah, so those are the two matchups with 19 versus 25. And Matthew, you get the first vote.
Oh, I'm disappointed that you came to me, because I'm staring at this clipboard, and I don't know. I have a question. The WrestleMania 19. Did you say Taker and Triple H were on that one too?
No, 19. I think that was Taker in the handicap match, because Nathan Jones wasn't good enough to be put in the match with
yes.
and Mark Henry.
Okay. So then somebody remind me where Taker and Triple H. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Well, then that kind of makes it easier on me, because I'm embarrassed because I don't know when exactly it was, but that was one of my favorite matches. I remember that match having me on the edge of my seat, and Taker and Triple H going out into the crowd, and Taker chokeslinging him off of a scaffold. But I'm talking about a match that has nothing to do with these two WrestleManias.
That was in 17.
That was 17.
Yeah, and the other.
Oh, that was in Houston. That was Houston. We have a problem. That's right. Okay. So then that makes it easier for me. WrestleMania 25. Again, it's lasting images in my head, and how can Undertaker and HBK not leave a lasting image on everybody? They did so many different things in that match, and it left an image on everybody. But to me, the image from that WrestleMania is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, one of my all-time favorites as a child. And I remember watching that and like, holy crap, he can still go. And, he went on from WrestleMania to have more matches with Jericho, and just son of a gun. Like, the guy.
We don't say that name on this show.
We don't say what name?
Piece of shit.
No, Steven doesn't like Jericho.
See, nobody told me the rules.
It's okay. It's only Steven.
Okay. So that guy that we don't mention, the guy from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, he whether he was whether he was the dance partner that Steamboat needed, Steamboat, just that image of him and me, the feeling he gave me, like, son of a bitch, this guy can still go. So I guess it's not that hard for me. WrestleMania 25.
There you go, Steven.
I'm going WrestleMania 19 for two reasons. Santina Marella beat Beth Phoenix.
I hear you.
And the piece of shit was on that show. So I'm going 19.
And Jonesy, you get the tiebreaker.
19 had a good mix, but it had some lackluster matches, and yuck to the Taker match. I thought that was just awful. I got to go with 25. Better card. The matches were better. The set's fantastic. The atmosphere. And it's their 25th anniversary, and what a show they put on.
There we go. So 25 moves on, and that brings us to our next one, Steven, which is 10 and
23.
23. Yep.
So 10, WrestleMania 10, their tagline was 10 years in the making. It was March 20th, 1994, in New York City at MSG. 18,000 and change were there. And everyone knows this, the first match that comes to your mind from WrestleMania 10. But the main event was Hart, Yoko, Luger, Yoko, and Hart versus Hart. The IC title, obviously, Razor Ramon defeated Shawn Michaels with Diesel in the ladder match. Men on a Mission, Mabel and Mo with Oscar defeated the Quebecers, Jacques and Pierre, with Johnny Polo by countout. Yoko beat with Fuji, and the greatest manager of all time, Jim Cornette, beat Lex Luger by disqualification. Mr. Perfect was the ref. And then Hart beat Yokozuna to win the title. Randy Savage beat Crush with Fuji. And obviously the ladder match. 23, I was there. April 1st, 2007, Detroit, Michigan, Ford Field. 80,000 plus were there. Benoit beat MVP for the U.S. U.S. Kennedy defeated CM Punk, Edge, Finley, Jeff Hardy, King Booker, Matt Hardy, and Randy Orton in a Money in the Bank. I also believe, if I'm right, Mr. Kennedy gave Hornswoggle a Death Valley Driver off the ladder.
Well, the Green Bay Plunge.
Yeah, that's it. The Green Bay Plunge. Sorry. I just remember he put him up on his shoulders, and I was there thinking, I'm just going to witness a homicide here.
Yeah.
Cena defeated Shawn Michaels via submission. Hair versus hair was Lashley with the orange turd versus Umaga with McMahon. That actually had a lot of the buzz in Ford Field was actually quite high at that point. I don't remember this match. Melina beating Ashley in a Lumberjill match.
Yeah.
I'm
It
going
was a
WrestleMania.
very quick match.
I don't remember it. There was a lot of stuff going on in WrestleMania 23. I'm going, obviously, WrestleMania 23 because I was there. I think the card overall was a lot better. I mean, 10 had Hart and Hart, like Owen Hart versus Bret Hart, but I don't know. I find the 23 just a better card.
Jonesy.
23 was good for a lot of things, for the set and of course, money being dumped on the crowd. That's always a bonus. But WrestleMania 10 wasn't just an anniversary. It had the first official ladder match, the double main event, the great matches, including Savage and Crush, surprises with the different referees that they had, and of course, one of the best national anthem renditions I've ever heard. WrestleMania 10 is my vote.
And Matthew.
10. Just
Yeah, I hear you on that one.
I did
I was
Madison. Let's just say Madison Square Garden, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, as you Savage and Crush in a Falls Count Anywhere match. And at that point, a lot of people were like, well, what the hell is that? Although I did really like the way that they did the whole pin, you got 30 seconds to get back to the ring or whatever it was, but still. And then, Lex Luger and Yokozuna
You're cutting in and out, Matthew.
And Shawn Michaels, Roddy Piper, referee. I'm doing that, but I don't know if any of you guys remember, they had Luger came out and he was playing a joke and he took the world title, and then he came out later with the world title on and did an interview with it, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, they're getting film of him with the world title," and they just all. And I said, "Well, Luger's walking away with the title." Lost.
Yeah, they pulled quite the swerve on that one.
So
I'm just happy.
and just know what I found out when Playboy bunnies started competing at yeah, that's when I started tuning out for that period of WWE. So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. In my case, yeah, I would have gone for probably 10 as well, just because of the classic matches. And I'm so happy we lived in a time at that point that triple threat matches didn't really exist, because we probably would have gotten Luger, Hart, and Yoko in one match instead of it broken up like it is, and we wouldn't have gotten Bret and Owen. So thankfully, all that happened before the silliness of triple threat matches. So WrestleMania 10 moves on, and we move on to our next one, WrestleMania 8 versus 35. Jonesy.
WrestleMania 8, the tagline, there was a few friendship torn apart and the Macho Flair affair. And of course, it had one of the best, gotta be fair to Flair, and all that, those great interviews that Ric Flair did with Perfect at the airstrip, and just fantastic stuff. The city was Indianapolis, Indiana, at the Hoosier Dome. 62,000 and change were there. It was not a sellout. You could tell by the fact that the upper deck had a lot of empty seats. Of course, there was just the two commentators back then, Monsoon and Heenan. Really good team, just as good as Monsoon and Jesse. Ray Combs was one of the special guests from Family Feud. He did pass away a few years later from being electrocuted. He was the ring announcer for the 8-man tag match with a lot of jobbers were in that one. And I believe there was a match too that didn't take place because of time restraints. Shane McMahon was backstage official during the Savage Flair brawl. The main event was, of course, Hogan versus Sid. Mind you, I think the real main event was Macho versus Flair. It did have the ending was just terrible, I think, for that WrestleMania. And Monsoon was really, really trying to sell how awesome it was, the ending. And no, it was not. Of course, we had the IC match, another good guy versus good guy. Not a lot of those back then. Bret Hart defeated Rowdy Piper. The tag belt match was the Natural Disasters defeating Money Inc. And of course, Jimmy Hart was there, and they won by a crappy countout. And the WWF belt match was Randy Savage defeating Ric Flair in, I think, was the best match on the card. WrestleMania 8 to me was a miss, however, with a lot of the stuff. Moving on to WrestleMania 35, another one that didn't have a tagline. It happened April 7th, 2019, and the city was East Rutherford, New Jersey, at MetLife Stadium, 82,000 and change. We had referees. There was a total of 15 different referees for all the matches. Special guest was, of course, Hulk Hogan returns from the whole Gawker thing. The main event was Lynch and Rousey. It was the first and Flair. The first women's main event at WrestleMania. And one of the interesting things is there was transit delays after the event went past the time that they actually advertised, so it screwed everything up. You can see Google for more. They expected 8,000 to 13,000 riders, and they ended up receiving 33,000 riders. And a lot of comparison to the big F up that they had there for Super Bowl. I can't read that. I don't know. XLVIII. So that's like
48.
68 or something like that. The IC match on that one was the Demon Finn Balor defeating Bobby Lashley, who was the champion at the time. The U.S. title, Samoa Joe, who was the champion, retained against Rey Mysterio by technical submission. The SmackDown tag was the Usos, who were the champions, defeating Aleister Black and Ricochet, Rusev, and Shinsuke Nakamura, with Lana and The Bar, Cesaro and Sheamus. We had the women's tag, which was the Iconics winning against everyone there. The women's Raw SmackDown, who gives a crap. I only say that because there's too many damn tag belts for all these shows. It drives me insane. The amount of different belts they have now, because they don't mean anything. They really don't. The WWE belt had Kofi Kingston winning against Daniel Bryan. The Universal belt was Seth Rollins defeating Brock Lesnar. And the special match, actually there was a couple, had Shane McMahon defeating The Miz in a no-holds-barred match. And Triple H defeated Batista. And, of course, Angle's farewell match against Baron Corbin with Kurt Angle taking the defeat. And back up here. The closing match to 8 was blah. Savage and Flair should have closed it out. This one, it doesn't matter which one really goes through. I'm going to go with 35 only because 8, there was a great match in there with Hogan versus Flair, but pretty much everything else I could have done without.
Matthew.
Well, let me first say that I'm pretty sure WrestleMania 35 was the first WrestleMania that I fell asleep. And I don't really blame me because, and it's not your fault, dude. I almost fell asleep while you rattled that rattled off WrestleMania 35. I agree wholeheartedly with too many belts. So this one's kind of tough on me. I'm going to go with WrestleMania 35. WrestleMania 8 has so many great memories to me. Savage and Flair, the build up to that, because that was very pre-internet, and that was when he's showing those pictures of him having dinner with Elizabeth, him sitting by the pool with Elizabeth, and you're sitting there just like, holy fuck, are these real? Like, it's just. But I'm gonna have to go with 35, and it kind of plays off what you said. Too many belts for two things. Number one, the women's main event. That's a milestone in itself. But all the people who said, well, they're just doing it to put women in the main event. Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair deserve to be the main event. But that's a whole other argument for a whole other podcast. So for that reason. But to play on what you said, the result of that match unified the women's belt. It funneled down that championship, and that meant something too. So to your point, I just wanted to pay to your point that less belts are better, but I'm going to go with WrestleMania 35 just because of that milestone.
Excellent. So 35 is going to move on. 8 for me probably would have maybe gotten a little bit more over 35, except for the Warrior stuff. Steven, your vote is?
It doesn't matter, but I'm going with 8.
Yes, because 35 was already advancing through, but that's okay.
Exactly. But I thought 8 was a better show.
And that's why the change up with the voters is interesting how it would have gone. Because, like I said, I would have gone 8. You would have gone 8. Jonesy with 35. 8 would have advanced, but we have a different set
And
of
I
voters.
wouldn't have been mad with that at all.
Yeah, but we got a different set of voters.
The reason why I voted 35 is because it's a better looking WrestleMania. It's got a lot more to it and also Warrior and all that just ruined the end of that whole show.
And Papa Shango. So match number 7, WrestleMania 24 versus 33. Number 24 was March 30th, 2008, Florida Citrus Bowl, 74,635 in attendance. Kane won the pre-show Battle Royal to be a number 1 contender for the ECW Championship. JBL beat Finley in a Belfast brawl. Hornswoggle was also involved with that. Huge, hard-hitting match with those guys. CM Punk won his first Money in the Bank ladder match. He won the following year. Kane then came out and beat Chavo in 11 seconds to become the ECW champion. Shawn Michaels retired Ric Flair in the infamous "I'm sorry, I love you" moment. People always remember. And then super kick. And you saw Reed was ringside, David and Ashley, aka Charlotte, and Conrad Thompson's future wife Megan was also at ringside. So they were there for Ric's departure. Orton retained the WWE Championship over Triple H and Cena. Floyd Money Mayweather somehow beat Big Show in a boxing no-holds-barred weird match. And Undertaker beat Edge to become world champion. And I know that one stands out with a person like Jimmy Corderas, who got asked to referee that match. And it's probably one of his favorite matches of all time, reffing. He's mentioned numerous times. And I think it's also on the cover of his book. WrestleMania 33, April 2nd, 2017, Camping World Stadium in Orlando, Florida. 75,245 in attendance. Neville beat Austin Aries in a cruiserweight match that was on the pre-show that was really good and should have been on the main show. And there was hardly anybody even in the stadium at the time. So I feel bad for those guys there. Mojo Rawley, unfortunately, beat won the Andre the Battle Royal. I think Gronk also got involved in that one. Kevin Owens beat Chris Jericho to win the U.S. title. Bayley won the Raw Women's title in a 4-way elimination match that I believe also included Nia Jax, Charlotte Flair, and I think it was Becky Lynch. If not, it was Sasha. Don't have that note here. The Hardy Boys made a surprise return to win the Raw Tag Team titles in the Fatal 4-Way. The New Day were the hosts. They thought, oh, we're going to add one more team, and people thought it was going to be New Day. Next thing you know, the Hardys theme happens, and the night before, they had just worked Ring of Honor against the Young Bucks. So it was a huge surprise that they returned and took the titles. Cena and Nikki Bella ended up beating Ms. Maurice, and we saw the proposal that didn't come to fruition when their Nikki and Cena ended up breaking up. Rollins beat Triple H. Orton beat Bray Wyatt. We're going to see that again in a couple of weeks. And Brock Lesnar beat Goldberg to become the Universal Heavyweight Champion. And the main event was Roman beating Undertaker in a no-holds-barred match, which by that time he'd already lost one time at WrestleMania, so it wasn't a significant win in the end. Looking at these ones, especially with some of the follow-ups afterwards, I got to not vote because it's not my turn doing, though. I'm not going to influence. Matt, your vote.
Oh, this one's a tough one. This one is a tough one. I don't. This is why I don't want to go with WrestleMania 24, is because this is kind of where they started the whole Playboy Bunny thing. Because I'm pretty sure, Maria was in Playboy, wasn't she?
Yep.
Yeah. So Ashley and Maria, I'm not saying they weren't good, but I don't know.
No, you can say they suck balls. It's fine.
Yeah, okay, they suck balls. Fine. They suck balls. I didn't see that in the magazine, but apparently they suck balls. What's that?
That probably would have been
that's more of a Hustler thing. That probably would have been Hustler thing. It's a tough one. I don't know. I'm not a fan of either one, really. Can you come back to me?
Sure.
No, you get the first vote.
Oh, I get the first. Oh, I have to vote.
Oh, Steven's gonna be hurried.
Look at this. Look at him. Like, oh, he's calling. Oh, okay.
Calling you out.
He's calling me out. He's calling me out. You know what? I'm gonna go. Oh.
You're stuck on a desert island, and only
I'm gonna go with 33. I'm gonna go with 33. AJ Styles and Shane McMahon was a lot better than it was supposed to be. Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. Sorry, I said his name. The name that we're not supposed to say. That was great. Hardy Boys. They wrestled in 2 ladder matches in 2 days. Okay. Actually, you know what? I'm actually looking at the card here, and I'm starting to remember stuff. The Miz really showed his chops. He really showed how he can put some butts in that seat. He did some great promos leading into this. Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt that's the reason that I didn't want to vote for this, because I thought it was the stupidest match I've ever seen in my life.
What, with the sperm on the?
Yes, with the sperm. Brock Lesnar and Goldberg. I like their Survivor Series match a hell of a lot better. Roman Reigns and The Undertaker wasn't what it should have. But you know what? Looking back, I'm going to go with 33. Sorry. Here, I'm babbling.
It's all good. Steven.
I'm going 24 because
I'm taking up everybody's time.
No, it's fine. We're used to that. I'm going 24 because the piece of shit had a less influence in the card.
Jonesy, you're the tiebreaker.
I before I give which one I'm voting for, generally women's matches in WWE, I could give a flying fig about. If I wanted to watch women's wrestling, I would watch Japanese wrestling. There is some good women's wrestling, but I feel, especially the earlier stuff from, I'd say, 12 on, is just a lot of girls screaming and yelling, and they're just trying to push it way too much. I got to vote for 24. The set for that one blew me away. I couldn't believe the size that they made that thing. It was like freaking 10 stories higher, some ridiculous. The amount of money that they spent on the Citrus Bowl to bring it back up to standards. They spent millions on that stadium that they used for one night. And I do believe they returned to it, or they plan to return to it, one or the other. I just think it had a little bit better matches. And again, the set was just out of this world.
There we go. So 24 moves on. Steven, our final matchup in the first round, and then we go rapid fire.
So WrestleMania 26, get all fired up. March 28th, 2010, in Glendale, Arizona, at University of Phoenix Stadium. About 72,000 people were there. Highlights. Jack Swagger defeated Christian, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, Evan Bourne, Kane, Kofi Kingston, Matt Hardy, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin in a Money in the Bank match. Unified tag. I forgot about this match. Was Show Miz. Miz and the Big Show defeated John Morrison and R-Truth. Cena defeated Batista by submission for the WWE belt. And for the world title, piece of shit beat Edge. The specialty matches were Bret Hart defeated Mr. McMahon by submission. And Undertaker defeated Shawn Michaels. It was career versus streak. WrestleMania 21 is WrestleMania Goes to Hollywood. April 3rd, 2005 in Los Angeles, California at the Staples Center. About 20,000 people were there. Money in the Bank, Edge beat Chris Benoit, piece of shit. Christian with Tyson Tomko, Kane and Shelton Benjamin. WWF belt was John Cena defeated Bradshaw. Batista defeated Triple H. And there was the fucking sumo match. I'm going 21 just because the piece of shit had a less impact on.
You can tell we are big fans of AEW and Jim Cornette. So, Jonesy.
Yeah, so
And now he leaves.
WrestleMania 21 had some slow spots with the sumo match and JBL being in it. I'm voting 26 again for the same reasons as most of the others. There was some bigger matches in it, I thought, and of course 26. I was going to make a joke, but I lost it. So, anyways, I'll leave it short.
There we go. And so you said you're doing 26.
Yeah.
Matthew, you get the tiebreaker.
Oh, well, let me start off by saying, Steve, I love the fact that when you were reading off WrestleMania 21, you said shithead, and then right after that, you said Chris Benoit. So the guy who is not supposed to be spoken in any circles, we can say his name, no problem, but shithead. I'm not saying shithead. Anyway.
Can you tell where my hatred is?
I can tell where your hatred is. And you and I, one of these days, we're going to talk about where that comes from. Whether you need to lay down on my couch and I need to charge you out by the hour. We're going to figure this shit out. I'm gonna quickly just say WrestleMania 21. From top to bottom, just tell me something that went wrong at WrestleMania 21. Anybody?
Yeah, hard to do.
There is nothing. Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, like boom. Money in the Bank. I don't remember, like those Money in the Bank matches. You kind of remember that moment where everyone's like, I can't remember any. Undertaker, Randy Orton, Trish Stratus, and Christy Hemme. It wasn't bad. It wasn't Flair or Steamboat, but it wasn't bad. Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels, one of the best matches ever. Akibono and the Big Show was what it was. It wasn't supposed to be a classic. It was what it was. Cena, Bradshaw, Batista, Triple H, from top to bottom, it was just a solid card. I'm going WrestleMania 21. It's not even really close.
There we go. So we end the first round. Steven, want to quickly break down the first round, and then we'll dive in the second round.
Yeah, just give me a second. I was just getting my papers reorganized. So this is not a surprise. Well, it's kind of a surprise, but not a surprise. WrestleMania 6 beat WrestleMania 31 2-1. WrestleMania 5 beat WrestleMania 29 3-0. 16 beat 34 2-1. 25 beat 19 2-1. 10 beat 23 2-1. 35 beat 8 2-1. 24 beat 33 2-1. 21 beat 26 2-1. Leading into our second round, WrestleMania 6 versus WrestleMania 5, WrestleMania 16 versus WrestleMania 25, WrestleMania 10 against WrestleMania 35, and WrestleMania 24 versus WrestleMania 21.
So yeah, I was actually kind of surprised that there was actually a 3-0 victory in this case with 5 beating 29. But normally we do have a lot of 3-0s some late ones. But yeah, so it tells how powerful some of these Mania matches are. Any surprises in the first round before we go?
I thought there'd be more 3-0s, but that's it. That's just because that's who I am.
Matthew?
I don't want to say surprises, disappointments, because some of the ones that I voted for didn't make it. But no, there's no surprises because I'm not blowing smoke up anyone's ass. Jonesy and Steve, they had great arguments. I can't argue with what they said. So there's no surprises. They convinced me. Like, they didn't convince me to change my vote, but they, I think that their votes were warranted.
Well, there we go. So take that down, and we start off with Jonesy with 6 versus 5.
And with this, for the rest of the rounds, I would like Shawn to take the vote, and I will sit and just watch and comment a little.
Okay, well, then we'll do that. 6
And
versus
smoke them
5.
if you got them.
Why not? 6 versus 5. I'm looking at Canadian version or one of my favorite events with a lot of tag team competitions in there, and also Mega Powers Explode. I gotta go 5 with Mega Powers Explode. So, Steven.
Sorry, my papers are all out of order. There we go. Just looking quickly. I'm going 6.
There we go. And Matthew.
Well, after a decisive explanation like that from Steven, I don't know what I can.
This is our speed round. We spend majority of our time.
Okay.
Yeah, we spend majority of our
thanks
time
for telling me.
explaining.
Because we're probably an hour and 5 in.
The rules.
I know,
Yeah.
but we're an hour and 5 in, and I've probably taken up 45.
Each week has different rules, just so you know.
Thanks for telling me. I got to go 6. World champion, intercontinental champion. It's just an amazing event. I got to go 6.
There we go. So 6 advances to the next round. Yeah, we try and basically look at things since we've already broken them down into a lot of things. Just our opinion.
WrestleMania 55. Are we supposed to tell the future here?
Apparently, this should have been just 5.
Ooh,
That's
25.
You know what? I'm going to go with WrestleMania 55. Becky Lynch's daughter takes out Charlotte's daughter, and it's about damn time.
There we go.
And I believe 55 is where CM Punk finally comes out of retirement.
Yes, and finally, spits on the grave of Vince McMahon.
But of course, the owner of the WWE, which is the Disney Corp, comes and fires CM Punk.
Mickey Mouse is the special guest referee.
So 16 versus 25. I am going to go with
Isn't it?
Six,
Isn't it? Whoa. Do we have to stay in order, don't we? Does it matter?
is it not? Is it your vote?
Yeah, it'd be mine to
Okay,
start because you started the last one. Now I swear to
Yeah.
Jesus,
Sorry.
I hate you.
I'm also having some technical issues on my end.
I've lost all my notes. They're so far out of 16 and 25. 60. Was that McMahon in every corner?
McMahon in every corner versus basically HBK and Undertaker.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, that was 16.
I'm going 25.
So that's 2 for 25 because Matthew, you're actually going 25, or what is your official one?
No, I would actually go 16. Just for the respect that they paid the tag team division. I think that's one of the last WrestleManias that they really honored tag team division, and on such a high level. So I would say 16.
Yeah, I am also going to go with 16. That was what I was thinking of. As much as HBK and Taker were amazing and received all the accolades, 16 has a lot of more substance to it. So, Matthew, you get to start us off with the first vote in our next one, which is 10 against 35.
As much as it was a milestone to have the women's main event, I got to go with WrestleMania 10, just because a Hart versus Hart, special guest referees. I think Burt Reynolds was there. I think one of the new kids on the block was there. Madison Square Garden, just that's WrestleMania 10 is going to be very hard to beat for me. So 10.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm voting for 10 as well. Really, a lot.
Yes, there was a lot of special guests. Sorry, ring announcers. We had Bill Dunn, Donnie Wahlberg for the Luger versus Yoko, and Burt
There you
Reynolds
go, Donnie.
for Hart and Yoko. Plus, of course, Little Richard sung the anthem, and Jenny Garth was the timekeeper for one of the matches.
Was Burt Reynolds not there?
Yes, he was.
Oh, he was. Okay, because he had his hand broken.
Yeah, she came out with Jenny Garth came out with Burt Reynolds because he apparently said he didn't want to be with Rhonda Shear, but then they were backstage and acting like they were best friends. And Bruce Pritchard's like, "Why are you not wanting to be together?" And so, yeah, and he had no idea who Jenny Garth was. Burt Reynolds didn't. So definitely listen to something to wrestle with on that one for backstory. But I'm going with 10 because you got the ladder match, you got the thankfully not a triangle match, and of course everything that set pace with Owen and Brett. So Steven, clean sweep or you throwing a balloon to 35?
Clean sweep.
There we go. A 3-0 victory on that one. And then we end with WrestleMania 24 and 21.
Is that me?
Yeah.
I'm going 24. The Michaels Flair is just too much.
Yeah, everybody's going to remember that moment. Matthew.
As memorable as HBK and Flair is, again, 21 was just such a solid, no mistake, no grimacing moment. WrestleMania, I got to go with 21.
Was that also because Motor had played the game?
Yeah, they were there for that one. Also, I believe that was WrestleMania Goes Hollywood, and all the build up to that with doing the parody.
Okay, yes, actually, that is good.
Sometimes we miss some notes, and then it pops in there. But yeah, WrestleMania 21 had Going Hollywood and the different parodies of movies. Christy Hemme and Kurt Angle doing the When Harry Met Sally moment in the restaurant. Braveheart and with Triple H and Flair on a donkey. What was it? Eddie and Booker T doing Pulp Fiction. So many good ones that were there. on that. So I'm going to go with 21 also because it had a wonderful build up. So Steven, our second round.
You had WrestleMania 6 beat WrestleMania 5 2-1. WrestleMania 16 beat 25 2-1. WrestleMania 10 beat 35 3-0. WrestleMania 21 beat WrestleMania 24 2-1, setting up our semifinals of WrestleMania 6 versus WrestleMania 16 and WrestleMania 10 versus WrestleMania 21.
Okay. So we move on to our third round. I'm just changing our graphics. And I'll put that up and take this down. WrestleMania 6 versus 16. Matthew, what do you think?
I got to go with 6. Got to go with 6. And again, it goes back to staying power. Good guy versus good guy, world champion versus intercontinental champion. And I still love to go back and watch Hogan and Warrior, and I know what's going to happen. But it's everyone's like, oh, well, it's not a technical masterpiece. It doesn't have to be. It's just, I got to go 6.
And a lot of memes were made for the match, especially with the test of strength.
I rather watch the WCW one they did. That one is so awesome to watch as a train wreck.
Yeah, if you're looking for a train wreck, that's where you should go.
Very different rematch that wasn't supposed to happen. Yeah, for myself, I think Steven's going to have to break this tie because I'm going 16. Steven?
Oh, it's 6. It's 6 easily.
So you were there. How much did you love that Robert Goulet song, the anthem?
I was like fucking like 10.
Probably.
So you would have had no clue who Mary Tyler Moore was.
No, it was a Christmas present, and I found the tickets because I thought I was there, and we were up in the fucking nosebleeds. Not a fucking clue. The tickets cost $5.
Nice.
I could probably have touched the roof if I really looked it up. I wouldn't. I just remember the being there, but yeah,
Mary Tyler Moore could have given paid for 20 of those tickets with the $100 bill that Jake Roberts gave her.
That's right.
Okay, so we're going WrestleMania 10 versus 21. Oof. 10th anniversary, Madison Square Gardens, Owen Brett, ladder match. WrestleMania goes Hollywood. I'm going 10. Steven?
I'm going 10 because piece of shit wasn't in it.
Sometimes there's rhyme and reason for voting, and then there's just disdain. Is it a clean sweep, Matthew?
Yeah, it is. I told you before, WrestleMania 10 is going to be very hard to beat. And as solid as WrestleMania 21 was, just WrestleMania 10 was just so much more WrestleMania to me than WrestleMania 21 was.
Yeah, it just had a wonderful feel, even though now we're so used to stadiums and all that goes on with the fireworks and just the lights compared to what MSG provided for WrestleMania 10. And they also used the short entrance at WrestleMania 10. So our final is WrestleMania 6 versus 10.
So we had WrestleMania 6 beat 16 2-1 and 10 beat 21 3-0. Like Shawn said, sets up 6 versus 10.
Steven, you want to start this one?
Sure. It's WrestleMania 10. To me, as if I had to say, you had to pick one match that stood out, it's 10. The ladder match.
Okay, so there's one vote for that. And do we have a winner, or am I breaking the tie, Matthew?
We have a winner. again, 10 is just WrestleMania to me, and it's just there's too many milestones, too many memories. Like, yeah, just I can't vote against 10. There's off the top of my head, I just can't.
So
I'd like to say I'm really disappointed that WrestleMania 55 did not win, but hey.
Hey, I voted for 55.
Well, remember that in a few years' time. We're actually not that.
Few.
We're
28 or 18. Sorry,
we're closer
18 years.
to 55 than we were to 1.
What?
So we have WrestleMania 10 as the victory. That will go on to next week when we do the other half of the bracket. I'm just going to put it up in a moment. Hopefully, any other surprises?
I've got it here. I can tell you the bracket for next week.
Yeah,
I've got it. So we've got WrestleMania 36 versus WrestleMania 14, WrestleMania 18 versus WrestleMania 20, WrestleMania 28 versus 30, WrestleMania 1 versus 17, WrestleMania 13 versus WrestleMania 4, WrestleMania 22 versus WrestleMania 3, WrestleMania 7 versus WrestleMania 15, WrestleMania 2 versus WrestleMania 12.
excellent. So we have some the bigger WrestleManias coming up. They're all great, really. It was hard to eliminate the ones that did get eliminated. 9, 11, forget 32, and I think it was 27. But Jonesy's saying 15. I believe 15 is there. 15 is there against 7, so it was 27, 32, 9, and 11 that didn't make the cut. We can discuss those on another year when we do this next year. But yeah, as you see, that's the bracket for next week, and it'll go against the winner of WrestleMania 10 that came out. So this is the time we get to plug everything. So Steven, we're going to go around and get out of here.
All right. Well, this week, check Sluggin' with Stephen O'Neill. This week is featuring Eazy-E, Eric Carney. That's at cwnonline.ca. Again, that's Sluggin' featuring or Sluggin' with Stephen O'Neill featuring this week Eazy-E. Next week's actually a pretty special one because we're gonna have our first female wrestler. So we have got I've got a lot planned right through until the end of April. But again, check that out on cwnonline.ca.
Excellent. Jonesy, what do you got to encourage people to watch?
Well, watch This Week in Wrestling, the history. This week, we're, of course, looking at March 18th to the 24th. Of course, tons of WrestleManias in there to go over. And that's it on that.
Yeah, a couple uncensored. God help us on that, especially with the Doomsday Cage. But yeah, that'll be Thursday at noon. And Matthew, what do you got to plug?
Well, today's Tuesday, and the new episode of It's Time to Fight dropped today. I'm talking to Claude Prest, who may not exactly be a household name, but in wrestling, there's wrestlers that they tell you to stay away from. There's promoters that they tell you not to do business with. Claude Prest has a reputation to be in the former, and now he's working for the latter. But everybody deserves their opportunity to tell their side of the story. So, as I said, Podbean, Spotify, Wrestling with Johners, it's time to fight.ca. You can go check that out. Also today on my my YouTube page, and my Facebook page, is the episode of Roll Call. I'm trying to set myself apart from other podcasts, and I'm actually reaching out to potential guests and my listeners to say, hey, tell these guys to come on. So you can go check out Roll Call on my YouTube page and my Facebook page. My big WrestleMania thing is doing head versus heart. I'm going to get a bunch of people together, and we're all going to talk bet with our head, bet with our heart. Either way, we all win. So that's what I got coming up for WrestleMania.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to be on that episode.
Yes, you will.
We talked about that date, so I believe that what's that, the 7th?
I don't know.
It's something.
I have
it's
so many
something around
dates
there.
going through my head right now.
Or it's the
What's
9th. One
today?
of
The
two days.
23rd. I was going to say today was the 24th. I don't even know today's date.
Yeah, they're all
Anyway,
blurring.
yes, you are on it. Among some other
So
surprise guests.
excellent. So we'll be doing that. We'll share it on our page, and yeah, you can watch all our stuff on YouTube and Facebook. Thursday nights, 8 o'clock is our regular podcast, which also appears live on Twitch. And then, of course, you can hear all of our stuff on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere you get your podcasts from, because it's like 11 different outlets in total. And we're part of the Ontario Indie Podcasting Network and the Johners Podcasting Network over across the pond in the UK. So we encourage any of podcasters or fans to get involved with this. And we have our 3 shows going on. Plus, right now you can vote for the Ontario Indie March Madness Tournament. It's been really fun with getting some talent to send us some videos. And also, April 1st, look out for information on the launch of the Scumbags Predictions League, where you're going to end up winning some prizes. And it's going to be points and yeah, so much fun watching wrestling and making predictions on who's going to win and lose on stuff. And at the end of the whole thing, win some great prizes. So April 1st, watch out for more details on that. So until next time, thanks, guys.
Bye now.